All right, let's dive in. We're about to explore an idea that might just completely change how you look at, well, everything. Yourself, your struggles, and maybe even what you think of as your own personal genius.
Have you ever had one of those days, or maybe one of those years, where you just feel like you're swimming upstream? You know, you're paddling as hard as you can, you're putting in all the effort, but it feels like you're constantly fighting against some invisible current, whether it's in your job, your relationships, or even just trying to build a good habit.
And what's the usual advice we get? Just try harder, push through it, be more disciplined. But what if that's actually terrible advice? What if the problem isn't how hard you're pushing, but the direction you're pushing in? What if you're fighting against your own fundamental nature?
Okay, so to get to the bottom of this, let's start with a feeling I think pretty much everyone can relate to. It's that kind of subtle but always there feeling that something's just off.
It's that awkward, draining feeling you get when you're trying to force yourself to fit into a mold that just isn't you. In Chinese, there's a perfect word for this, ning ba. It's that twisted up, uncomfortable feeling, and it really gets to the heart of why two people can be in the exact same situation, same job, same team, and one person is thriving, totally energized, while the other is just completely burnt out. It's not about who's better or more capable, it's all about compatibility.
So what's really going on behind that Ningba feeling? What's the root cause? Well, this is where we get to the core idea of this whole explainer. And trust me, it goes way deeper than something like personality. You know how we do this, right? We put these labels on ourselves. Oh, I'm just not a morning person. Or, I'm terrible with details. But what if those aren't who you are? What if they're just symptoms? The source material really pushes us to look underneath all that, to find the actual operating system that's running the show. And that operating system, it has a name. It's called Sing. Now, this is crucial. This isn't personality like you'd see on a personality test. It's much more fundamental. Think of it like your body's innate energy blueprint. It's the unique, built-in structure that dictates how your life force, your qi, naturally wants to flow and function. And here's the kicker. You're born with it. And this is where the light bulb really goes on. See, from this Sheng perspective, your personality isn't really you. It's just the shape that your underlying energy structure creates. Your habits, they're not just random things you picked up. They're determined by the natural flow of that energy. It's like the difference between just looking at the leaves on a tree versus actually understanding the roots in the trunk that made them grow that way in the first place. We're going from the what to the why.
Okay, this all sounds pretty cool in theory, right? But what does this energy blueprint actually look like in the real world? Let's dig into a couple of amazing stories from the source material that bring this idea to life.
So get this. The source talks about this one student who, by every single academic measure, was basically a failure. He couldn't pass his exams, he struggled in class, everyone had pretty much written him off. But there was one place where he was an absolute king: Chinese chess. Nobody could beat him. And here's the beautiful insight. It wasn't that the kid was incapable of thinking. Of course not. It's just that his thinking didn't live in the world of words and equations. It lived in the patterns, the structure, and the flow of the game. His innate energy structure, his Xing, wasn't built for the kind of linear logic school demands. It was built for something else entirely. His brain wasn't broken, it just spoke a different language. This brings us to a huge takeaway. What we call genius or talent, it's often not some magical, mysterious thing. It's simply a person whose innate nature, their Xing, has been seen, accepted, and then placed in the right environment to just flourish. The moment you stop fighting your nature and start working with it, that's when the magic really happens. All right, let's take that idea and build on it with another story. This next one is amazing because it's not just about what you're good at, like skills. It's about your fundamental way of being, your very presence in the world. Okay, picture this. You've got a legendary swordsman. This guy's the best of the best. His energy, his qi, is all about being sharp, aggressive, moving forward. He gets hired for a job, assassinate a nobleman. So he slips into the nobleman's study late at night, sword at the ready, poised to strike. But the nobleman, he's just sitting there, reading a book. He hears the assassin enter, but he doesn't panic. He doesn't scream for the guards. He just calmly says, without even looking up, "You're here. Sit down." Imagine the atmosphere in that room, just this immense, unshakable calm. And in that space, the swordsman, this master of violence, is completely frozen. His hand is on the hilt of his sword, but he literally cannot draw it. It's like his aggressive, forward-moving energy just hit a brick wall of pure calm and poof, it just dissolved. Later, when asked what happened, the swordsman said it wasn't about being outmatched in skill. He wasn't defeated by a faster opponent or a better weapon. He said his chi was steadier than mine. In that atmosphere of total stillness, his sharp, aggressive energy had nowhere to go. It just couldn't exist. This is so powerful because it shows our innate nature doesn't just shape what we do, it shapes how we are, our very presence.
Okay, so we've got these incredible stories that show what this energy blueprint is all about. But now for the big question, right? The most important part. How do we actually use this for ourselves? How do we find that path of alignment, that life of flow?
Well, a fantastic place to start is to ask yourself this. How do you react when the pressure is really on? Think about it. When a deadline suddenly gets moved up, or a crisis hits at work or at home, what is your gut reaction? Your very first, unfiltered instinct. Because that moment, that's when your true nature reveals itself.
The source gives us this amazing framework using the 5 elements to help map these reactions. So, take a look. When you're under stress, does your energy get all blocked up and you feel stuck and frustrated, kind of like wood? Or maybe it just speeds up and gets totally chaotic, like fire? Or do you tighten up, become really rigid and inflexible, like metal? The key here isn't to judge your pattern. There's no good or bad one. It's just about recognizing how your own personal operating system works.
And that understanding leads us right to the solution, which is summed up in this beautiful phrase, 顺性 our way. It basically means to act in harmony with your innate nature. See, the goal isn't to force a wood-type person to stop feeling stagnant. It's to figure out what helps their energy flow freely again. You don't tell a fire type to just calm down. That's impossible. You help them find a productive channel for all that amazing energy. It's a total game changer. You stop criticizing yourself and start strategizing for yourself. It's about alignment, not trying to change who you are.
So how can you start doing this today? It's actually pretty straightforward. 4 steps. First, just start noticing. What activities make you feel alive and energized, and what leaves you feeling totally drained? Second, identify your patterns, but without any judgment. How do you really work best? What are your default tendencies? Third, you have to honor what you find, accept it. This is your design. And finally, the most powerful step of all, choose. Start choosing to put yourself in environments and jobs and relationships where your nature can actually thrive, instead of forcing you to fight yourself 24/7.
Because in the end, this whole idea is about a massive shift in how we see ourselves. It's about looking at all your quirks, your tendencies, your so-called weaknesses, and realizing they aren't flaws to be fixed. They're clues. They're breadcrumbs leading you back to your own unique design. The journey isn't about becoming someone better or someone different. It's about finally coming home to the person you've been all along.